It feels almost as if the 2024 FIM Sidecar World Championship has only just gotten started, but as we hover over the TT Circuit Assen, there are just 5 races left to go in the championship and just 2 points between our 2 championship protagonists, Markus Schlosser and Luca Schmidt, at the top of the championship for the time being, but Harry Payne and Kevin Rousseau hot on their heels, and of course it was Payne and Rousseau that took the race win yesterday from 3rd on the grid. The grids remains the same for today, so it will be Schlosser and Schmidt on pole position for the 16-lap Sunday race here in the SuperSide, in the Sidecar World Championship, and joined on the front row by the Christies, the number 34 Team Hannafin entry. And, well, I suspect that there is optimism at Team Schlosser. They have a quick bike. This was the only machine to set a 145 yesterday in qualifying. Everybody else in the 46s. Meanwhile, this morning in the very short warm-up session they have at the start of Sunday, Schlosser and Schmidt actually went quicker by 2/10 than they went in qualifying. The fastest time we've seen all weekend, a 45.6. So we can expect good pace, seemingly. I don't know whether they've made any tweaks to the number 3 LCR Yamaha, but there's potential for even more pace today. And of course, since they missed out on their win, they will be very keen to find that little incremental gain that perhaps they were missing. There is the winning machine from yesterday. There is our current 2nd position in the championship, Harry Payne and Kevin Rousseau of Steinhausen Racing. They are using an ARS chassis. Everyone on the grid using a Yamaha power plant, however. And so we are almost ready to go racing. Here is a local boy, Benny Stroyer, who is from Assen, born and raised. Shouldn't be surprised that he's up there, 4th position on the grid. That is a typically Benny Stroyer performance here. Stroyer himself a former world champion, and we can always expect him to go well here at the TT circuit. And a returning face to the championship. It's been a little while since we've seen the 77. Tim Reeves is back in the championship with his buddy Wilkes on the passenger throne. So exciting to see the return of the 8-time world champion. I understand that he will be with us for the remainder of the season as well, which is certainly very good to see. We've missed him. There's the defending champ, Todd Ellis, Emmanuel Clement, at the 6th position on the grid, on the number 6, of course, double world champion in 2022 and 2023. But this year, it's looking like a more and more distant shot, unfortunately, sitting away behind in the points. It would take a lot of salvaging from this juncture, but Ellis and Clement still one of the most incredible pairings in this grid. Schlosser and Schmidt then on pole position. The Christies alongside Payne and Rousseau, Stroyer and Kolsch on row 2 of the grid. Then it's Reeves and Wilkes in 5th position alongside Todd Ellis and Emmanuel Clement. Pavarinter and Christie in 7th place alongside Ted and Vincent Peugeot in 8th position. Weissen and Salmon in 9th place alongside Werkstetter and Pirat. Archer and Hofer in 11th position alongside Leglise and Chescuti, who worked their way into the top 10 yesterday. So they'll be looking to do the same on Sunday. In 13th position, Biggs and Segers, Venus and Sedlacek on the 13th and 14th spots in the grid. Cable and Richardson, 15th, 16th position. Also through there, Ledjekkers and Vickers and Fries in 18th. Galern and Columbin set to start 19th. We didn't get everybody taking the start yesterday, Venus and Sedlacek didn't get to the end of the first lap. Werkstetter, Imperat and the Vinay's did not take the start. And I'm expecting we're not going to see the 84 Laidlow machine out there on the circuit either. I didn't see it on the pre-grid, and of course yesterday they had a pretty bad accident at the end of the race, causing a red flag. Glad to report that they were both going to the paddock afterwards under their own steam. They did go to hospital for checks, but my understanding is that they are okay, which is of course the most important news of all. But based on yesterday's race, we could be in for a thriller here. We saw the 45 spring into life quicker than anybody else on the first lap of the race yesterday, from third to first within 3 corners, and that lead remained with the Steinhausen Racing duo of Harry Payne and Kevin Rousseau for the remainder. And so the machines roll towards their grid slots now. We are ready for 16 laps of racing. Schlosser and Schmidt on that all-important pole position, but we saw yesterday how quickly Harry Payne gets out of the gates on the 45 Steinhausen Racing machine. He'll be looking to replicate his performance from yesterday. Critically, though, in yesterday's race, it looked as though the pace was coming towards Schlosser and Schmidt towards the end of 9 laps. Today, we have 16. We're underway and racing in Assen, and it's another good start from Steinhausen Racing. The 45 of Payne and Rousseau leading into the first corner, 3 wide further back, and a big start from Tim Reeves and Mark Wilkes. A very good start indeed. They're up to 3rd place. A little bit of contact there with the number 34, the Christies, but they all stay in the right direction, and all importantly, Reeves and Wilkes have leapt forward to 3rd on the standings before the end of the first sector. That is a very good start from the pilot of the 77. About as positive of a beginning as it gets then for Tim Reeves, but in the lead still is the number 3, the other yellow and black machine of Schlosser and Schmidt, leading the championship by precarious 2 points. The Steinhausen bike in 2nd, then it's Reeves and Wilkes in 3rd, Stroyer and Kolsch in 4th place. Ellis and Clement have made a position as well. Oh, but Steinhausen Racing slow? Was that just an error, or was that an issue? Looks like it's still running at full speed. I think perhaps just running wide a little bit there, Harry Payne and Kevin Rousseau. He'll be kicking himself for that error, Harry Payne. But down to 4th position on the very first lap of the race. We've still got 15 to go, of course. There's a long way to go. Here comes the number 34 of Sam and Tom Christie. They've fallen back as far as 6th position from the front row of the grid after getting unsettled there by the fast-starting Reeves and Wilkes. I think that's the primary cause there. Here goes a move for 3rd place, potentially, as Steinhausen Racing's pink and black machine continues to try and charge back. Interesting start to this race for sure. Schlosser and Schmidt leading the way and pulling away. Stroyer and Kolsch now in 2nd place. Reeves and Wilkes in 3rd. And of course the Steinhausen Racing duo in 4th place are now being challenged by Todd Ellis and Emmanuel Clement. And that's the last person you want behind you heading down the back straight towards the braking zone at the following chicane. Todd Ellis, the master of late braking, will approach Ruskenhoek just behind the number 45. No moves made on that occasion. Schlosser and Schmidt have a very solid lead for this early in the race. Can Streuer and Kolsch try and close in as we see the 2019 of Vinay unfortunately being pushed to one side at the conclusion of the first lap. The Christies still just waiting for an opportunity to try and maybe get back up the order, but they sit in 6th place. There they are off the line in 2nd position. As with yesterday, a great start from the 45 crew. Harry Payne and Kevin Rousseau just disappeared off the line, but there, from almost out of nowhere, came Tim Reeves. Say his name and he appears, and then a bit of contact between Sam and Tom Christie as well. As we see now in live pictures, the number 6 of Ellis and Clement ending up on the runoff area there and on the curbs. That puts them down behind Sam and Tom Christie. The Pavarinta machine in 7th place, now looking feisty on the heels of Ellis and Clement. But an extremely close battle here at the front of the order. It's lap 3 of the race. A total of 16, of course, expected to be taken. There's still a long way to go, but they're running like this is a 5-lap exhibition race. Great to hear these high-revving 600cc machines, all Yamaha power, of course. The ARS or Adolph chassis towards the front. It's a good mix between the LCR and the ARS chassis at the front of the pack. But it's Schmidt and Schlosser who are currently in control of this race. Tim Reeves and Mark Wilkes then have been demoted behind the Steinhausen racing machine. I think that happened while we were looking at replays. So there has been a move there for 3rd place on the previous lap, as you can see. And the question is now, will everyone else hold on to the rear of that 45, or will they forge a path on their own to the rear of Streuer and Kolsch? Here come the Christies. They've clearly got pace, diving to the inside, but they're not going to get it stopped in time, surely. Well, they just about manage it. Here come Ellis and Clement. They had an unencumbered run through the final chicane, which the others in front certainly did not have. Ellis and Clement leapfrog forward into 5th position behind the Christies, who are up to 4th. And how things change for Tim Reeves and Mark Wilkes. They were 3rd about a lap and a half ago. They now fall down to 7th, but they immediately go back around the outside of Pekka Pavarinta. Great racing from the 8-time world champion. The Christies and Ellis and Clement are leading a 4-bike battle then. And this is for 4th place. Critically, all of that, of course, has released Harry Payne and Kevin Rousseau. I was speculating as to whether we'd see the others effectively attach themselves to the rear of the 45. Here comes the 44 again, looking to the inside line. Not close enough for a move there. Pekka Pavarinta, of course, with the 3rd Christie brother on the back as well, so it could become a family affair. Looks like there's a move on for Harry Payne, though, for 2nd place. Payne and Rousseau through at the first corner at Harbocht Bend. Benny Streuer then down a position, and critically for Payne and Rousseau, they're now back to 2nd place, back where they were before they drifted wide on the first lap of the race. The number 41 machine has come to a halt out there on circuit, unfortunately. That is the Weissen Salmon machine. And hopefully see them back out and fighting again in a few weeks' time in Oschersleben. They've had a very strong season so far. As we get to the conclusion of lap number 5, we're not yet at half distance. There's still time, I would say, for the 45 machine to go hunting. Ellis and Clement under pressure from Pavarinta and Christie as well. Currently sitting in that 5th position, Ellis and Clement. Pavarinta and Christie this time. Another look to the inside at the final chicane. 2 laps in a row now they've tried it. They were a bit far back a lap ago. They were right on the rear wheel this time. Next time by, will they be close enough for a move? We're on lap 6 of the race here at the Assen circuit in the Netherlands, one of the most famous destinations in motorcycle racing. We've seen some great battles here before. A lot of riders call this region their home. Already alluded to the fact that Stroyer and Kulsch live effectively, or rather Benny Stroyer in particular, was born in Assen. Tim Reeves also lives a stone's throw from this circuit, and Harry Payne has relocated to the Netherlands in recent times as well. Harry Payne being supported this weekend by his father, who hasn't been trackside for quite a long time. It was a surprise to welcome him along. The 56 is off the circuit. That's Leideckers and Tierstig having a minor drama there on the circuit, but doesn't look like that bike was particularly wounded, so they'll continue on in this race. Ellis and Clement aren't doing the pressuring they'd like to be doing. I thought they might be staying with the Christies at this stage, but no, it's Pavarinta who is making life a little bit tricky at the moment. We get a look now at perhaps what happened to Leideckers and Tierstig. They were in a battle with their fellow local entry of Vickers and Fries and just asked too much of the rear tyre there under braking and turning into the corner. I thought there might have been a clumsy moment, but not really, just an easy to make error. Overburdening the rear tyre. Adam Christie tagging along for the ride with Pekka Pavarinta in this battle for 6th place. Just ahead of him, or just ahead of this battle, of course, Sam and Tom Christie. Look at Stroyer and Kulsch, very much staying with Payne and Rousseau as well. Now, of course, if Harry Payne and Kevin Rousseau have the pace to drag themselves, and indeed their friends on the 21, to Schlosser and Schmidt, we could end up with a 3-way battle, but equally, with the 21 right on the tail of Harry Payne, perhaps they might be slightly holding up, slightly hindering progress. Doesn't look like that's the case. In fact, last time by, both machines set their fastest laps of the race thus far. And while Stroyer and Kulsch are keeping a close eye on the back of the 45, I wonder if there's an element of cooperation. We might find out on the run into turn 1, because Stroyer closing ever so slightly, not close enough for a move, but the gap has come down and continues to come down. The last lap for Schlosser and Schmidt, a 1:46.4. Both of these machines are in the 45s. which, as you'll recall, is quali pace. That's one of the fascinating things about sidecar competition, as Payne laps the, I believe that's the number 56. In fact, no, that's the 7 machine. But that's one of the fascinating things, is you don't really see that drop-off between qualifying and race pace. It's quite a durable compound, for one thing, the tyre that we're using here from Hughes, so that certainly has its part to play in that, as Galern and Colombin continue to be lapped by the front end of the order here. Looks like Reeves and Wilkes are closing in as well on Pavarinta, and in turn on Todd Ellis and Emmanuel Clement. 3 very experienced outfits here, not necessarily all together, of course. The pairing of Pavarinta and Adam Christie is fairly new. Of course, Reeves and Wilkes have won a world title together as well. Tim himself with 8 world titles to his name. We understand we'll see him back for a full season in 2025. Side by side there. Was that the Christies putting a lap on the 56? Yes, it was. So not for position. But the Christies moving by there. The lap traffic could have an effect here, as these 3 battling for 5th place get ever so slightly bunched up. Lap 9 of the race distance. This would have been the final lap this time yesterday. And it was about this time in the race that the pace started to shift towards Schlosser and Schmidt, who were closing in on Harry Payne and Kevin Rousseau. And looking at the current situation, the gap between Schlosser and Schmidt and Payne and Rousseau has just started to go the other way again. Payne and Rousseau's last lap of 46.862. The last lap for Schlosser and Schmidt of 46.1, so the pace with Schlosser and Schmidt has slightly improved. Payne and Rousseau were quite a bit slower on that previous lap, so that raises the question, have Payne and Rousseau run out of tyre? Are they starting to struggle? Have Schlosser and Schmidt just been playing a conservation game out there? Because suddenly their pace is steadily ramping up as the second and third place outfits behind them begin to slow. 2.1 seconds is the gap. Payne and Rousseau right back on the pace actually last time by, 45.747, but Schlosser and Schmidt with a 45.8. So not much in it at all from a lap time perspective between first and second place. Stroyer and Kolsch getting slightly held up there, it must be said, by the 61. That's going to be a little bit disappointing for Benny Stroyer. I think he would have lost maybe half a second there. It's nothing too dramatic, but it's enough to be noticeable over a race distance in a championship this competitive, where the margins are so fine. Now, of course, coming into this weekend, we had a 7-point championship lead in favour of Schlosser and Schmidt. And as it stands, we are at 2 points. Schlosser and Schmidt leading the championship by 2 over Payne and Rousseau. Schlosser and Schmidt on 142, Payne and Rousseau on 140. They would effectively leave Assen with the title battle reset as it once was if they finish in this order. Once again, the gap will be up to 7 points in favour of Markus Schlosser and Luca Schmidt. There's still a long way to go. We've still got 5 laps left on the clock here. Time perhaps is not of the essence, but Payne and Rousseau are running out of laps aboard their ARS chassis. Here come the Christies. They're some 3 seconds back on Stroyer and Kolsch, so I think Stroyer and Kolsch are fairly clear now in 3rd position. Tim Reeves is dropping through the order. The 77 is in the pit lane. Tim Reeves and Mark Wilkes have had a problem. The 77 is dropping, and on their return to the championship, I think it's going to be a disappointing Sunday for Reeves and Wilkes. .35 being shown a meatball flag. That's Werkstetter and Perrin getting the black and orange flag, which typically means something is not to the steward's satisfaction. And, well, yes, you can see that, can't you? Looks as though that could hopefully just be tyre rub. I hope it's nothing more sinister than that. If they're laying fluid down on the surface, this is going to be tricky for everybody. There's some yellow flag light panels around the circuit as well. Perhaps they have laid something down. Hopefully that's not the case. Payne and Rousseau are closing in again. 1.2 seconds is the gap now. It was at 2.1 just a couple of minutes ago, and now Payne and Rousseau are reeling back in their championship contenders. While that's going on, the battle for 5th position continues with Ellis and Clement on the defensive here. Pavarinta and Christie. Certainly keeping the defending champions honest in this battle for 5th position. I think there are some slippery surface flags around the circuit. Here comes Pavarinta. Todd Ellis late on the brakes, as is customary, manages to stay on there. I thought Pavarinta was going to make that move for 5th position, and he certainly tried, but Ellis and Clement stay ahead for the time being. Ted and Vincent Peugeot are next in the queue after this battle for 5th position, but they're some 18 seconds further back. Top half dozen have broken away from the field here. Let's see what the gap is between the leaders this time, because it was down to 1.2 from 2.1, and if that rate of capture continues, well, we could be on for a grandstand finish for sure. Pekka Pavarinta. Again, looks to the inside of Ellis and Clement. 2 outfits who are yet to claim a victory this season. Ellis and Clement, the best finish of 2nd place at the Saxon Ring. Fighting it out here for 5th position. Pavarinta really pressuring, really shadowing the rear of the number 6. Ducks under the fairing. Once again, we'll have a look to the inside, but this time not quite as close as he was a lap previous. Gap at the line between Schlosser and Schmidt was at 1.1 seconds, effectively, 1.095. So again, falling in favour of Payne and Rousseau. The 2 closest battles on the circuit are this one for 5th and 6th position. And then it is that lead battle. Here comes Pavarinta looking to the inside. Oh, very, very close indeed. Tried to get the nose in there, but wasn't quick enough to the apex. Will there be a move, though, into the final chicane? It's certainly very close between the number 6 and the number 44. Pavarinta tries to carry the momentum through. Don't think he's got enough of a run for a move at the chicane. He does not. But look at that gap for the lead. 0.6 of a second you see on screen. It's dropped again. All wide goes Todd Ellis, and that's going to open up the door to Pavarinta. Pavarinta gets through into 5th position. Didn't expect an error to be the defining factor there, but we just saw Ellis and Clement drift wide, and they are indeed down to 6th position. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, it is Schlosser and Schmidt. Still in the race lead, however, Steinhausen Racing's Payne and Rousseau will be determined. They know they've got a winning bike underneath them this weekend. They seem to really gel with this machine around the Assen circuit. And of course, if they do get through into the lead and win this race, they will inherit the championship lead by just 3 points. The difference between 1st and 2nd in the scoring board is 25 points for the win, 20 for 2nd place. But in such a tight-fought championship, any result at any of our races could end up being the definitive moment. And Payne and Rousseau would love to score the effective mental blow of leaving Assen with both victories, as Schlosser and Schmidt did in Most, of course, a double win for the number 3. There's just 2 laps left to go. We're on the penultimate lap of this race. Ellis and Clement have gotten back past Pavarinta and Christie, so the battle for 5th place is still also very active. And Ellis and Clement were briefly behind Pavarinta and Christie, but are now back into 5th place. Half a second at the line between Schlosser and Schmidt and Payne and Rousseau. Some more lap traffic ahead of Schlosser as well. That's Cable and Richardson on the 111, I believe. In fact, no, that's one of the Dutch outfits. I think perhaps the number 56 again. Or no, the number 7, sorry, for a second time getting lapped there. That was fairly easy, well managed there by the 7 crew of Galern and Colombin, just making sure that they don't interfere in that battle. Benny Straw and Kevin Kolsch have been rather left for dead in 3rd position. They were at one time right there with Payne and Rousseau, but that is certainly no longer the case as we head on to the final lap of the race then. And that gap has gone down again, hasn't it? It's not 0.5 anymore. It's somehow even less than that. It's 2 tenths. 0.287. Payne and Rousseau have been closing, been reeling in the number 3. We're on the final lap of the race now. Markus Schlosser and Lukas Schmidt will feel that they are on the high ground. They obviously are on the high ground. Payne and Rousseau, feisty racers though. Harry Payne will make a move if even a third of an opportunity presents itself. Harry observing that perhaps the Schlosser-Schmidt machine is slightly quicker in a straight line this weekend. And sure enough, maybe an extra bike length or so opening up on the straight before the braking zone there, but all that traffic may play a part there. Schlosser and Schmidt getting ever so slightly stalled up behind the number 56. Into the final sector of the lap then, and it's Schlosser and Schmidt who've led from the green flag. Surely this will end up being a lights to flag victory unless Payne and Rousseau can pull out something incredibly special in the last couple of corners. They're 2, maybe 3 bike lengths back. They're not going to be close enough for a move. Look at the commitment though. Going into the final chicane, made up a bike length or 2 in that corner alone, and they close right in on the number 3, but it's not going to be enough. Schmidt gives the big congratulations to his pilot. Markus Schlosser and Luca Schmidt win the race. Payne and Rousseau take a well-deserved second position. 0.095 in it at the end. Schlosser and Schmidt then nullify the lost championship points from yesterday. The gap went down from 7 points to 2, and now the championship gap is back up to 7 points. You can see that Harry Payne gave that everything in the last few corners. It was clear to the eye from the outside, and seeing his body language afterwards, you can tell. Stroyer and Kolsch in 3rd, the Christies in 4th, Ellis and Clement in 5th place, Pavarinta and Christie taking 6th position. So after briefly getting past Ellis and Clement, Pekka Pavarinta, Adam Christie having to settle for 6th place. Stroyer and Kolsch finishing ahead of the Team Hannafin machine of Sam and Tom Christie. That's also quite interesting from a championship perspective. Stroyer and Kolsch in 6th place and quite a way off the Christies, but if they can find more of that podium finishing form, by the end of Estoril they might be quite close to that 3rd, 4th ballpark in the championship points. Certainly one of the best weekends we've seen of the season from Team Stroyer Racing. I think the Christies won't be too happy with 4th place, especially given how they started that race. From 2nd on the grid to outside the top 5 by the end of that first lap. They've recovered admirably to a strong 4th place finish, but perhaps not what they would have wanted. Really, in both races, not quite capitalising on their front row start. Schlosser and Schmidt very much capitalising, though, on their front row start for this one. Lights to flag victory for Markus Schlosser and Luca Schmidt. They win by just under a 10th over Payne and Rousseau, who are right there with them at the end. Stroyer and Kolsch in 3rd place. The Christies in 4th position. Ellis and Clement in 5th. Pavarinta and Adam Christie in 6th place. The Peugeots in 7th. Archer and Hofer in 7th and 8th. Archer and Hofer in 8th place behind the Peugeots. Leglise and Jescuti again up into the top 10 in 9th place ahead of Biggs and Segers in 10th place. Cable and Richardson in 11th, finishing just a couple of tenths clear of Venus and Sedlacek in 12th place. That was the tail end of the lead lap finishers. I don't know if the pink wigs will be coming out again today then. Payne and Rousseau, 2nd place today, and it was 2nd place off the line as well from 3rd on the grid. A great launch from Harry Payne. Todd Ellis and Emmanuel Clement looking to the inside of Benny Stroyer and Kevin Kolsch. Tim Reeves and Mark Wiltz had a very good run around turn 1 and 2. Lots of grip and lots of bravery there. Steinhausen Racing briefly falling down to 4th place on the first lap as well, and would soon begin the recovery drive. Lots of skirmishes behind the top 3, as you saw there. The Christies, Ellis and Clement, Reeves and Wilkes, Pavarinta and Adam Christie all getting into it, as we saw some thrills and spills further back as well. Stroyer and Kolsch maybe getting a little bit held up by the lap traffic at one point. An unfortunate end to the race for Werkstetter and Perrat on the 35, and a spectacular end to the race between our championship contenders, Schlosser and Schmidt. Payne and Rousseau having a wonderful race. And certainly for Markus Schlosser, the race went exactly as he would have liked. He's a racer He doesn't like just disappearing up the road, I don't think, although he won't thank me for saying this, into his 50s. He still likes being in the midst of a hard-fought battle, I think, more so than a cruise to the win. And while he did comfortably win, or rather, while he did win from lights to flag, it was not a comfortable win. It was a high-pressure scenario, but those high-pressure scenarios turn into nothing but adrenaline in the paddock, so long as you come out on top, and that's exactly what Schlosser and Schmidt did there. 25 points in their favour, 7 points between the championship contenders, as we saw before coming into Assen. A win apiece for our championship contenders, and again with them finishing first and second in each race, and with the Christies finishing fourth today as well, it does again rather streamline that championship fight. It's still mathematically not strictly a two-horse race with 100 points still available, but you'd be hard-pressed to convince anyone to take the odds on anyone other than the 3 or the 45 coming out as World Sidecar Champions in 2024. Fastest lap of the race, a 45.2 from Benny Stroyer and Kevin Kolsch. What an incredible lap time. Let's hear, though, from down in the paddock.
Thank you, Tommy. Thanks a lot. So, guys, happy to be back on the podium, Benny. What do you say?
Yeah, really happy. It's first World Championship podium this year, so finally.
How was the race? Tell us more about it.
Yeah, it was good. After 9 laps.
Take a deep breath.
After 9 laps, I started to catch Marcus a little bit. I think it was around 9 laps, and then Harry came by, but it was unbelievable that I never expected that he will close that gap. But for us it was just too much from the tires. So.
Congrats for this podium here, and see you on the podium. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. So I want to see the guys on the second position and clapping hands, and just please come to me to the interview, the Steinhausen Racing guys, Harry and Kevin. Whoa, so guys, another podium, second place in a hard battle, and I heard you closed, and we all saw it, you closed an amazing gap to these front guys.
That was hard work, yeah. Made a small mistake. I just didn't pick the wheel up enough over the back and smashed Kevin into the curb. It put us off wide, but yeah, we managed to get past Tim and Benny reasonably well, but Benny was hanging on pretty good. And then, yeah, just managed to slowly claw the gap, but the whole time trying to manage the tyre is nearly impossible. So right in the end, we just got close enough, but had nothing left. And he's too fast on the straight, you know, that I can't get close enough to make a dive. So, yeah. Fair play to him, and then we'll have to have another go next time.
Exactly. Kevin, are you okay? Do you have any injuries?
No, nothing. It was a very good race, and then, like Harry said, we had a good comeback. Unfortunately, we couldn't take the victory, but we did our best, and then second place is better than no points.
Absolutely right. Second place is better than no points, so can be happy about these 20 you picked up in the second race. And these guys, they picked up the full range today. 25 points. To this mixture of Germany and Switzerland. So, Marcus, you must be really happy.
Yeah, absolutely. The perfect race. What will you? To the beginning, the first, and the end also to the first.
Was it? Did you hear the guys coming at the end?
Yeah, I see on the box. The box give me the time a little bit smaller. Yes, yeah. The problem is also when you come to the slowest team. Yeah, no, it's absolute perfect day for me.
Absolute perfect day. Congrats, guys, and see you just on the podium in a couple seconds. So we are starting here with the third place. These guys back on the podium again from the Stroyer Racing Team, the 21, Benny Stroyer and Kevin Kölsch. Again on the podium with another great battle, closing the gap at the end of the race. The 45 from Steinhausen Racing, Harry Payne and Kevin Rousseau. And back again on the number 1 is this couple here with the number 3 from the Team Schlosser, Luca Schmidt and Markus Schlosser. And we are now handing over the trophies here for the third place. The number 21, Benny Stroyer and Kevin Kölsch. Paul is giving some handshakes. The FIM member getting these trophies also from Adrian. And the second place to the Steinhausen Racing, Harry Payne and Kevin Rousseau. And the winner of the second long race are this combined German-Switzerland duo, Markus Schlosser and Luca Schmidt. How their friends calling him. We hear now the national anthem for Mr. Messerschlosser and Luca Schmidt.
The only thing that Schlosser and Schmidt have done wrong all weekend is that dismount there off the podium. Otherwise, it's been a very good weekend for all the championship leaders. They'll all be heading to Oschersleben next in September. Make sure you join us to see what happens next in a thrilling 2024 FIM Sidecar World Championship.